Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked. Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Jason is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. I'm Vincent Finelli. We broadcast 2 hours a day from Missouri, 9 a.m. through 11 a.m. Central Time. That's the time to call us if you'd like. And we'll put you on the air. We'll pay for the call. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line is up. 605-477-3249. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. Welcome, Guineith.
Hello, Vincent. How are you this morning?
Very well. And you?
I'm good. Yep.
Great. Where would you like to begin?
Okay. I think that, I'll begin by having a review this morning of the latest edition of the Gentleman of Fortune's Weekly News.
Wonderful.
Yep. So, this week we've basically got a very Australian outback type theme to the newsletter. And, I just thought, well, this is such an amazing country. And there's so many good things about it. But people have got to be aware of what sort of a country this is. Because there's no place in the whole world like Australia. And, it's a place that's always been, a moderately dangerous place to be. So, and that's been the case hundreds of years ago, and it's still the case today. And so basically what we're going into in the history of crime section, there was a fellow who, I wouldn't say that he was really an Australian, actually he was Dutch. But his name was called Geronimus Cornelius. And what Geronimus Cornelius was that he was a heretical, psychopathic pirate. And he was somebody who, like I say, he wasn't really Australian. He just sort of visited Australia, but not even really on purpose. He was kind of blown here in a storm. But really, just to hear what happened with Geronimus Cornelius, probably the best thing to do is, I'll tell you a little bit, but to get the full story, you'll have to go and subscribe to the Gentleman of Fortune's Weekly News. And, you can find the link on my Facebook page, which is GuineithIsaacs.com. Sorry, no, I don't think it is. Okay. Guineith Isaacs on Facebook, anyway. But Geronimus Cornelius, he was somebody, he did a terrible, terrible massacre at a place called the Abrolhos Islands in, off the coast of Geraldton in Western Australia. And it's really, really quite an amazing story. and the hero of the day was somebody by the name of Webby Hayes. And, you know, Cornelius, he was the third in command, the captain and the second in command. They'd all been shipwrecked and they'd gone for help. And so Cornelius was put in charge, and as soon as he was put in charge, basically, he divided the people into 4 camps and started killing everybody. And Webby Hayes realized this. Cornelius had all the guns. But you know something? Good old Webby Hayes didn't give up. And because he didn't give up, he managed to save at least some people's lives. Although there was still a tremendous amount of people who died. But anyway, to get the full story, go to my Facebook page. I was going to say go to USA Prepares, was what I was going to say.
Yeah, don't do that now.
The site's down. I remembered that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, you can get to the subscription by going to my Facebook page, and you'll find the link there if you scroll down on my timeline. And but that's one of the people that we talk about, and also the other thing that we're talking about is what's happening with the Northern Territory. You know, the Northern Territory is not, well, mostly not really very close to West Australia. It does have a state boundary with Western Australia, but it's not really that close to Geraldton. But nevertheless, it's an area that's got a lot of problems. They have a huge budget deficit there. And I don't know if you know, Vincent, or if you can quickly look up, what's the per capita state debt for people living in California at the moment? I think that's the worst case example in the United States, isn't it?
The per capita what?
Per capita state debt.
Okay.
How much state debt does everybody in California owe?
Okay, I'm looking it up now.
Okay.
It might take. It might take. I'm using a Microshaft, so it might take. I'm having some problems with it, but okay. California's. Let's see. Here we go.
Yep.
All right. $3,582.
$3,582. Guess what the per capita state debt is for the people of Northern Territory in Northern Australia? It's around about $122,000 for every single man, woman, and child in the Northern Territory. And most of the people who live there are absolutely dirt poor. They hardly even own the clothes on their own backs. They live in third world poverty.
How's the Queen doing? How's the Queen doing? Is she doing okay?
I don't know that she's been to the Northern Territory lately. You know, it's absolutely disgusting. And the magnitude, it's gotten so bad up there that, you know, this state deficit is threatening actually to pull down the whole federal funding system, where basically the Canberra loans money to all the different states in Australia and territories in order to keep them afloat, and they're supposed to pay the money back out of GST revenues. The only thing is that nobody in the Northern Territory got the people who got hardly any money, you know, so they don't really buy anything other than alcohol and tobacco and, you know, things like that. which, they have their own taxes associated with them. But the people there, it's just really disgusting. But anyway, like I say, we tell the full story of it once again in the Gentleman of Fortune Weekly News.
And this newsletter, if you'd like to sample it, is absolutely free for an issue.
Yes.
You'll send an issue absolutely free. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And how would you like that? How would you like them to? All right. How would you like them to communicate our class with you if they'd like to see what this looks like via email?
Okay. They can send me an email at Guineith@gmail.com. That's GUINEITH@gmail.com. That's GUIN Finelli, EITH @gmail.com. And that's the best way to contact me. And if they email me, I'll email them a PDF edition. Okay, so that they won't be able to get access to the online site, but I'll email them a PDF of the final proof that I used to post up to the site that I posted onto. So so that they can see what manner of writing I have, just so that they know that they're getting a quality product, Vincent.
Mm-hmm. It is a quality product.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Guineith, you and I have talked about dishonesty, and I absolutely abhor dishonesty. If someone lies, they're out of my circle because I can't trust them.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a code of conduct, and I think that this is the code of conduct that USA Prepares adheres to. So let me read it, and then I'll tell you whose code of conduct this is. And let me know, Guineith, as a representative of our class, if you think that this code of conduct is apropos to all of us at USA Prepares. And I don't have enough time to read it. There's 10 parts to it.
There's the music
It'll take
coming.
you back. Yeah, and then we'll talk about the origination of this code of conduct, but why I think it's appropriate to us. It's kind of genetic for me. We'll be right back. So here it goes. Here is the USA Prepares Code of Conduct. Number 1, no person can present himself directly to another of our friends. There must be a third person to do it. So, for example, a person can't just show up. He has to be introduced by one of our friends. Number 2, never look at the wives of our friends. Never look at the wives of our friends. That doesn't mean don't look at them. It means don't go past that. Number 3, never be seen with cops. Never be seen with cops. That means don't associate. That means don't associate with cops. Number 4, don't go to pubs and clubs. Number 5, always be available for us. Always be available for us. Number 6, appointments must be respected. And what that means is if you say, I'll be there at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, that means you better be there at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. It doesn't mean 3:30. It doesn't mean Wednesday. It means on time. The next one. Wives must be treated with respect. That means no profanity, no abusive language. That doesn't mean pushing them around, playing mind games with them. It means treating them with respect in every way. Number 8. When asked for any information, the answer must be the truth. When asked for any information, the answer must be the truth. Number 9. Money cannot be appropriated if it belongs to others or other families. That means you can't steal money. And people cannot be one of us if they have a close relative with the police or with a two-timing relative of us or anyone who behaves badly and doesn't hold to moral values. Gwyneth, what are your thoughts?
I can't see any problem with that code of conduct whatsoever. I think I would be perfectly happy to abide by that code of conduct.
Okay. So what is the origin of this? And I actually feel this way and have for...
I know the origins of this.
Okay.
Shall I tell them all, Vincent?
Please do.
That's the general code of conduct that you are required to abide by if you're a member of an Italian family. In other words, if you're a member of the mob, the Mafia.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So, and you know something? As somebody who has Italian Mafia in-laws, okay, I don't know if you knew this or not, but my stepdaughter actually married into the mob. And she's a mob wife. And so she didn't really know what she was doing until after she was already married. And then it kind of clicked that her husband was in the Mafia. But all that he knew was that this was the best man that she'd ever met. He treated her with total respect, and he still treats her with total respect, and that they've been happily married for about the last 20 or 30 years now. But he's in the Mafia. Actually, he's probably pretty close to being the godfather of his little family. He's either...
Right. Let's talk about that when we come back.
I don't know if his father has passed on yet.
We'll talk about that when we come back. Guineith Isaacs, live in Australia. So, Guineith, we've been talking about the code of conduct, and it seems to me that it's absolutely above board. It all makes sense. You know, don't lie. Don't take other people's money. Don't try to take other people's wives. Those kinds of things. Don't go to clubs and pubs. You've got to be available for your, we'll call it your friends, which would be USA Prepares. You must tell the truth and never be seen with cops.
Yeah.
It all makes sense to me. And this literally, class, is the code of conduct for the Cosa Nostra. Now, it's not the same as the code of conduct for the police.
No.
No.
The Victoria Police do have a code of conduct, but they don't keep to it.
Mm-hmm.
They're such dishonorable scum, they don't even keep to their own code of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
And their code of conduct is if you see somebody who is of a minority, you've got to give them special treatment in a positive way. As in, if you see them doing something wrong, you need to pretend that, that they're not really doing anything wrong at all, and you need to ignore what they're doing. But they don't even keep to that.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that? They actually do have a code of conduct, but they don't keep to it. You know.
I think a really interesting question. If you see a cop, let's say you get pulled over, and it's usually the cop telling you something first, like license and registration, or license, insurance, and registration, or do you know how fast you were going, or something comes out of the cop's mouth first. I think we should come out. We should initiate the discussion before he says anything. So, have you ever broken the law? I think that's the first question we should ask them. Have you ever broken the law?
Do you abide by your PD's code of conduct?
Yeah.
Have you ever hit an innocent person?
Yeah.
Have you ever done anyone in on trumped-up charges? Have you ever lied under oath? You know?
Mm-hmm. Planted evidence?
Have you ever gotten drunk? Have you ever taken 3 shots of vodka and then blown into a breathalyzer 50 times?
Yep.
And then written out 50 tickets for 50 number plates that you've just randomly collected.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever gone to the parking lot of a saloon or a bar or a nightclub and put a mark on the tires so that you can see down the road, hiding, 1,000 feet down the road, which cars at night have those marks on their tires so that you can pull them over because you know that they were at that nightclub because you put graffiti on their tires.
You know something? There's a little tiny pub. It's probably got a capacity for about 20 patrons. I think that's even probably a bit generous. I think probably more like 10.
So it's like a living room.
Tiny little country club. Yeah, it's a living room with a liquor license. Okay? It's a little house out in the middle of the forest on an intersection. It's actually been a hotel for over 100 years. It's a historic country pub. But it's basically, like you say, it's a living room with a liquor license. And I have actually personally witnessed the police sitting just around the corner at about midnight or 1 a.m. in the morning when I've been driving through this particular intersection, which happens to be on the way home from one of the local towns for me. The cops sitting on that corner waiting for the doors to close, waiting for everybody to go home so that they can start pulling people over on the way home. And the publican has come up with an answer for that. Do you know what that is? He provides free camping out the back for all of his clients.
Yeah, great.
And if you ride your horse there, you can put your horse in the paddock. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
so can you get pulled over for riding a horse after drinking?
Yeah. You can absolutely be pulled over while driving a horse and cart. And the police around here have actually in the past pulled me over while I've been driving my horse and cart, simply for the purpose of asking me to provide my ID. When this no good cop knows exactly who I am and hates my guts and just wanted to find some excuse to give me a bad time. Mm-hmm. So he actually, with flashing lights, pulled me over when I was driving my horse in the gig.
I wonder do you have those new LED bright blinding?
I think it actually was the new LED lights. And it is very, very fortunate that my horse is basically bomb-proof. He can have an 18-wheeler whistle past him at 60 miles an hour, and he doesn't miss a beat. But that's not the case with every horse. If you go flashing light around a lot of horses, a lot of them would be likely to bolt. And
Right.
what would he do if my horse bolted carrying, this cart, which is not a light little cart. It's a 110-year-old historic gig. Okay? It's, it used to be the local schoolmaster's cart from the town up the road 100 years ago. The guy who lived 100 kilometres up the road used to drive this, and he was the schoolmaster. And that's the history of this particular cart. How would he feel if he'd put his flashy lights on and my horse spooked and, decided that it was going to take the cart across the top of his bonnet?
I saw something yesterday.
Did he think about that?
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're smart enough to think.
I don't think he did.
I saw something yesterday. I was going into the big city, Springfield, with our family, and I was behind the wheel of our truck. And up ahead on the left, I saw the red, white, and blue flashing lights. And I mentioned on the air that I thought that they were, on Monday, I thought they were about 1 cycle per second. And they are. So what I'm saying is 1 flash per second per color. So the red, the white, and the blue would be flashing. But they don't always flash the red one with the white one and the blue one at the same time. It's like red, then white, then blue. But it's about around one flash per second of each color. So that's 3 cycles per second. That's out of the front. Out of the back, different story. Out of the back, it looks like, let's say, 10 cycles per second for each color. So that would be 10 reds, 10 whites, then 10 blues, sequentially flashing at about 10 cycles per second. And then it seems to be a randomized pattern.
That would be 30 cycles a second.
That's correct. That's correct. And so if we're wondering why people go have seizures, these things are absolutely blinding. The only thing that you can see is these lights, but you can't really, they're so blinding that it's hard to look anyplace else. And so you really can't see where you're going, especially if it's dark. It's awful. And so what do we do?
And it would be hard even to think.
Oh, impossible.
All you'd be thinking is, far out.
So what,
those idiots, those highwaymen are up on the road ahead. Oh, my gosh, am I going to be able to get home safely,
Well,
what are they going to do? They're going to take the plates off my vehicle or what?
And they have a monopoly
around here.
They have a monopoly on those colors. See, you can't use those colors. Those are colors for the plague, okay?
Yeah.
Well,
actually, you know what red,
you can
white,
use yellow.
Blue,
you can use yellow.
You know what red, white, and blue has actually meant going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, okay?
Well, the red would be blood.
Always meant. It means the Admiralty is what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you get in British naval ranking, and I'm sure that there must be something similar in the United States, because you have red, white, and blue pennants for the Navy. Is that right, Vincent?
Yeah. And my understanding was the red was for blood, the white was for purity. I'm not sure what the blue is.
The blue
other
would
than
be
a plague.
For the sea.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is true. The red, it goes. First of all, you get made an admiral of the blue, and then you get made an admiral of the white, and then the highest ranking type of admiral is the admiral of the red. So if you're an admiral of the red, you're pretty well up there. Okay? So red, white, and blue has been a signal for the Admiralty going back that I've been able to trace at least 400 years, possibly earlier, in British naval tradition, and probably because of that, because of, descent and all of that, for American naval tradition as well. It's and that is what they're saying. That's who they are, and once again, they are claiming that we have to be registered with them, or otherwise we're pirates. Mm-hmm. To which I say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. I've just got my little fishing boat out here, and what are you talking about?
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. Guineith, there's a massive scandal in the United States about college admission. Are you aware of what's going on there?
College tuition.
No, admission, college admission, meaning acceptance into the... Yeah. Well, let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
So in the United States, there's breaking news about bribery and getting children into prestigious colleges who don't deserve to be there. So the wealthy and the famous have bribed people at the universities and have placed proctors at entrance examinations to cheat and falsify the tests to usher in children who have no business being in these prestigious universities. So there's a guy by the name of William Singer, S-I-N-G-E-R. He goes by the name of Rick Singer. He pleaded guilty, and this is Daily Mail. He pleaded guilty in Boston federal court on Tuesday to charges including racketeering and conspiracy and obstruction of justice. He admitted to being the mastermind behind the $1 million college admissions bribery scheme. He bragged about getting 800 rich children into colleges and guaranteed that he could get them locked in before their senior year. But he had to put up for sale a 6-bedroom mansion for over $2 million as a result of this scheme being found out. So it goes on to say the man who pleaded guilty to being the mastermind behind the $1 million college admissions bribery scheme bragged about getting 800 rich children into colleges and guaranteed that he could get them locked in before their senior year. He said, quote, "I'm absolutely responsible for it," end quote. He said in court, quote, "I put everything in place," end quote. Singer was charged with running the largest college admissions fraud scam in United States history through his small college preparatory company in Newport Beach, California. The scheme relied on bribes, phony test takers, even doctored photos depicting non-athletic applicants as elite competitors to land college slots for the offspring of rich parents, including actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Okay, so what happened was he put their faces on athletes' bodies and showed them in athletic, in athletic scenes to get these guys into college, and he charged a fortune. I mean, thousands of dollars. For example, between 2011 and 2018, this guy Rick Singer, who charged between $100,000 to as much as $2.5 million per child for the services, and they were masked as contributions to a scam charity, Key Worldwide Foundation, that he ran. Key Worldwide Foundation. Those charitable contributions were funneled into the coaches, let me say it a different way, the coaches and administrators at various colleges. So what that means is the coaches and administrators were saying, well, your child's not smart enough to get in here, but if you pay me, we can get him in. That's what we're talking about.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's been the case for many, many years with my alma mater, the University of Melbourne, that if you pay your fees in full up front, then you've got a much better chance of, let's say, passing your courses, even if you don't really speak English very well. And I personally saw that 20 years ago when I was at the University of Melbourne.
I guess my parents didn't know about that.
Then.
Yeah, my parents didn't know about that. I actually had to pass my courses. Guineith will be right back talking more about these scandals, bribe paying, and I've got some thoughts on it. So the soccer coach of Sasha and Malia Obama, their coach was indicted in this sprawling bribery scandal. And, you know, it's really hard for me to... Oh, yeah. I wish okay. The ads keep popping up on my screen. I just hate all these ads that block what I'm trying to read. And if I could get away from going to these websites that have these 70% coverage of ads, I would. But sometimes I have to actually read their articles. But so there's a guy by the name of Gordon Ernst, E-R-N-S-T. He's the former head coach at Georgetown University and the Obama's tennis instructor, the Obama's children, the guy who used to be running the United States of America Corporation into the ground, that guy. Gordon Ernst was charged in connection with this college admissions bribery scheme. Federal investigation dubbed Operation Varsity Blues netted nearly 50 people, according to Daily Mail. Among them, nearly a dozen coaches accused of accepting bribes. And as we mentioned before, actresses Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman were charged among 33 parents with paying bribes to get their children into top colleges. Now, these would be children who don't deserve to be there. But, you know, with enough grease, known as dead presidents or Federal Reserve notes, with enough of them, these undeserving children of famous people and the wealthy have been slid into top universities. So here's how much money are we talking about? Ernst, this is Gordon Ernst, allegedly received bribes totaling more than $2.7 million to pass off Georgetown applicants as tennis recruits. Wow. So we're actually saying that this guy allegedly passed off these applicants as if they were tennis stars.
The college tennis team.
Right.
Yep.
Rudy Meredith, former head coach of Yale University's soccer team, allegedly accepted $400,000 to help a teen get into Yale on a soccer scholarship. So this guy takes money, allegedly, helps a teen get into Yale, and then Yale gives him a scholarship. This is how it works, class. This is why it's so hard for the bottom 93%, as Rich Shealy calls us. This is why it's so hard for us. Because it's not fair. It's not honest. It's not above board. Yeah. So this guy I mentioned, Rick Singer, S-I-N-G-E-R, who founded college consulting business Edge College and Career Network, has been identified as the suspected mastermind of this scheme. Singer allegedly staged photo shoots for his clients, showing them playing sports, and even photoshopped their faces onto stock photos.
Oh, boy.
It gets worse. It gets worse.
But, it doesn't surprise me, Vincent, because like I said, when I was at the University of Melbourne 20 years ago, okay, what was happening there was that they would get wealthy, usually Asian students, and they would get them to pay their fees up front. And these students couldn't even speak English. And you would see them all over campus. They would only associate with each other in their national groups.
Right.
And they would speak English on the campus. And they were not required to take, English language classes that I know of. Or if they did, they weren't required to speak English on the campus, and they would only hang around with people of their own nationality speaking their own language, and yet somehow they always managed to pass all of their courses. It's just jaw-dropping. How is this even possible? And this is one of the top. And Melbourne University likes to think that they are the top university in Australia, okay? And I wish they were, because I'm an alma mater of that university, and I want them to keep their standards high, because when their standards drop, the value of my degree drops, because I worked jolly hard for my degree. And for pretty well all of the time when I was doing my degree, I was living in abject poverty, And I probably still have a student debt, but I've never earned enough money to ever even be able to start paying that student debt back. And I still don't. It's 20 years later, I still don't earn enough money to pay back my student debt. I don't think I've paid any of it off. It's just, and yet these people come in, and because they pay their fees up front, then, they get a free pass. How does that even work? That's just disgusting, And I actually got failed for a particular course, which I think I was mentioning to you off air. It was called something like Globalism and Globalization. I got failed for that course for disagreeing with the professor, because I said that there was a organized network of people who were setting up a globalist system. And of course I was right. But he was trying to tell all of his students, second and third year students, that globalism and globalization was something that just sort of happened all on its own, and that there was nobody behind the scenes guiding things or pulling strings or anything like that. And I thought that was a ridiculous concept, because my own personal family are actually descended from globalists going back hundreds of years. And so some of my ancestors were the people who were actually setting up this system. And that's members of the Bonham Carter family, if anybody's curious to find out. This is the truth.
Gwyneth,
and yet these people that get pushed to the front of the line, it's just not on.
What's the lowest grade you ever received in college? I'll bet you I got a lower grade than you did.
I think that was the Globalism and Globalization course, where I did a really good final paper for that, but he failed me because I disagreed with him, and I got something like 45%.
Okay, so is that an F?
Grade. What was that?
Would that be on A, B, C, D? Would that be a failing grade, F?
Probably a D minus.
Okay, so I win. I got an F minus. Oh,
did you?
Yeah, in history. I got an F minus in history class because I disagreed with the professor. I made one comment. Bang. F minus.
Oh, man. These professors, they think that because they work for somewhere like the University of Melbourne, that they're it in a bit. And, I mean, a lot of my professors were absolutely great. They were world leaders in their field, and I felt very honoured to study with them. You know, I've studied with, at one point I was having at least 12 hours of lectures a week with Tim Flannery, who's one of the world's most eminent climate scientists. Okay? Now, I didn't agree with everything that Tim Flannery said, you know. In fact, I disagreed with quite a bit of it. But, you know, I provided good grounds for what I believed, and he didn't tell me. He said, listen, if you can provide a good academic argument for what you're saying, good for you. That's why you're here. You're here to learn to make academic arguments. You know, and that was basically Tim Flannery's opinion of things. And I say, well, good on you, you know, and I felt very, very honoured. And, you know, he had, at the end of each of his classes, this was before he was famous, by the way. This was when he was just a humble college professor. He would have 20 and 30 people up at the front at the end of one of his 2 or 3 hour lectures wanting to ask him questions. That's when you know that you have got a good lecturer. And if you think, well, where did Guineith learn how to be a public speaker? I learned how to be a public speaker from sitting in lectures and listening to people like Tim Flannery speak for 2 and 3 hours about topics. It wasn't just climate science. It was topics such as extinction of Australian marsupials. It was about topics like, I don't know, you know, the reason why cultural traditions are so important in the preservation of wildlife in indigenous areas. You know, you think that's some obscure, boring topic. Not when it's coming from somebody of the likes of Tim Flannery. He can talk on a topic like that for hours, and everybody's on the edge of their seats. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Yeah, I was thinking about... Yes. And then I was thinking, in contrast, about Malia Obama. You know, how did she do in Harvard? She got into Harvard. Did she get in on her academic achievements? Did she get in on her hard work? Did she get in on merit? Or did she get in on her last name and through donations, or what? And how well did she do? And, you know, I've got to ask myself, how did that work out? How did that happen? Where we have this gal who, you know, is a dope smoking gal in Harvard. So, Guineith, we don't know what the Obama's daughter has done in school. I don't see any information on the internet about her grades, you know, how well she did. I don't see any information about the course of study that she's undertaken. Kind of amazing to me, because when you look at pictures of this girl, she seems flippant. She seems non-concerned about anything other than herself and her partying and that kind of stuff. You see her smoking dope, or the question is she smoking dope? You see these images and you wonder about these privileged children. And then you find out about this massive scandal involving 800 students getting into prestigious universities. And this is an especially sore topic with me. And the reason is because my dad was a teacher and a principal and an acting superintendent. And he attended a teacher's college and he graduated from it. It's a university. And he thought that it'd be great if I went there. And so did I. And he had a friend who knew me from early childhood, who was at the university, who was the chairman of a department, and he wrote a letter of recommendation based on knowing me. Not based on a bribe, not based on anything other than knowing me for a long time, growing up, because these were family friends. So my dad graduated from that university. His friend was a professor at the university, a chairman of a department. And that was a nice letter of recommendation to have. And on top of that, I went to a school that specialized in college preparation. It was a college preparatory high school. My grades were fine. My test scores were fine. Everything was fine. My character was fine. We could afford the tuition on the normal, payment type operation where you pay as you go, not pay in advance. And yet I couldn't get in, no matter what. Wow. And I met this boy who I was pumping gas that summer before college. I was pumping gas, and this young boy drove up in his car, and he had a sticker on his back window for that university. And I said, so you're going there? He said, yeah. I said, so how'd you do on the exam? He said, what exam? He happened to be a black boy. And those were the days of the beginnings of affirmative action. And it was like we didn't have enough of certain races.
That would be a slap in the face.
It was. It was an absolute slap in the face. So he got in. I asked him how he did on the exam. He didn't take the exam that I had to take. He just got in. And I have to assume it was evening the score. We didn't have enough of, I don't know, certain persuasion, certain colors, certain races. So he got in. I couldn't get in. And I resented it, and I resent it to this day. And when I worked at the bank, I heard the term affirmative action. This was in the 80s. Affirmative action was a really big thing. And I didn't understand affirmative action. So I went to the Human Research Department, also known as Human Resources, also known as Personnel. So I went to Human Research, because I think they research how far they can push you. And I asked the head of Human Research, who was a black woman, so what is affirmative action? And she struggled to tell me what it was. And she said, well, it's like this. We reach out to those who we need to reach out to. I said, what does that mean? She said, well, we try to make the information that we have some opportunities for employment to people, that need them. I said, like what? And they said, so you mean like you go out and you try to find candidates for employment that have no idea who we are or what we do, and then we bring them in and then push them through the system so that we can give them a job? Makes no sense to me. I had a team that worked with me. I was the chief of this particular computer team at the bank. And the last thing I would do is go out and look for people who have no idea who we are or what we're trying to do and have no clue of how to do it. And then say, let's hire some of these people. Wouldn't that be great to have more people who don't know what they're doing? Really? We'll be right back. So, Guineith, when I worked for the bank, I was in charge of a department. It was the Advanced Computer Technology Department. So I was the guy who led that department. And I had criteria for hiring people. And I'll tell you what the criteria happened to be. Now, some may take exception to this, and that's okay. You can all disagree, but this is my criteria. Number one, do we like this person? That's number one. Do we like this person? I did not say, can the person do the job as number one. Number one to me is, do we like this person? Number two, is the person qualified? Can the person actually do the job? Number three, can the person grow as we grow? As we get more complex, more sophisticated, more detailed, can this person grow as we grow? Number four, will a person adhere to our code of conduct and code of dress? Those are the main criteria in order for me to hire somebody in my department. Now, there's nothing about color there. There's nothing about race there. But there is something about, number one, do we like this person? Do we want to be around this person? Because I don't care if this person is the premier talent in that category. If we can't work with them, it doesn't matter.
Yep. That's the truth of it. You have to be able to have people who can work together, who actually like each other, who enjoy working with each other. And if you get some people, they're not necessarily bad people, but they just don't click. They just don't get on. And if you've got people like that in your team, you're not going to get anything done because they're going to be constantly bickering. It doesn't mean that one's right and one's wrong, or one's good and one's bad. It's just that they don't get on and they're constantly bickering and nothing gets done.
That's exactly right. And there are other people who can suck the life out of a room. A person can walk in, and what could be a really productive environment can be destroyed just by this one person walking in. Some people have the ability to destroy creativity just by their presence. And I couldn't allow that.
Well, that is so true. It's just like that they actually used to have a name for these people. I don't think I've heard it lately, but I think they used to be called killjoys.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that particular phrase.
Yeah. Yes, I have.
Could you define what you think a killjoy is?
Well, exactly that. Someone who can suck the life out of a room. I mean, it's that man or woman that shows up at the party, and everybody goes, "Oh, geez." Everything was good. Everything was great until she walked in or he walked in, or and all eyes turn to that person, and what could be a lively, boisterous, fun event becomes silent. That's what I'm talking about.
And you know something?
Yes.
I'll tell you what. How many times is it that later on you find out that this particular soul happens to work for the government?
Isn't that interesting?
Just a side issue there, Yeah. But how often do these killjoys end up becoming government bureaucrats and police officers? Mm-hmm. It's just... They seem to be drawn to that particular profession. And I know that we always end up coming back here like some sort of great cyclone of ideas. But it's true. You find out that they're the local dog ranger. So somebody's dog runs away and they go and kidnap the dog and then hold it for ransom to some poor person who's on an unemployment benefit. And they're holding their dog to ransom for $500, and there's no way that they'll ever be able to get their dog back.
Isn't that an outrage? Isn't that?
Yeah,
isn't that an outrage?
It's just disgusting. That's the only word I can think of it, but that happens all the time.
They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that to my dog. That's for sure. I'll drive my bulldozer through their house. I'm serious. I got to tell you,
I've got the Bartholomew Roberts policy on people who want to hold me to ransom, and guess what that is? I don't pay ransoms.
Right.
I don't pay ransoms ever. Mm-hmm. So, and that's unfortunate for my dog. But if the dog catcher thinks that he's going to get $500 out of me for kidnapping my dog, I'll just have to say, "Oh, very sorry, dog, but I never pay ransoms." Mm-hmm. And something that used to be the same policy that the U.S. government used to have. The U.S. government corporation used to have that policy. And
that's what they claimed.
Pay ransom.
That's what they claimed.
And, and I don't give in to blackmail, ever. I'll fall on my sword. There's nothing that's blackmailable anyway. But I'd fall on my sword before I'd ever succumb to blackmail. That's a figurative saying. That means You want to throw me to the wolves? You're going to blackmail me to throw me to the wolves? Well, I'd better get ready to get thrown to the wolves because I'm not going to give in to blackmail. You know, if that ever happened, but there's nothing there that would be blackmailable anyway. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the best policy to have because then no one has any power in the area of ransoms or blackmail over you. You know, you say, well, that's fine. I'll expose the fact that you've been attempting to blackmail me and attempting to hold me for ransom and blah 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 blah. And all of that, and I'll scream it from the rooftops. And that's how I deal with that sort of issue, just for the public record.
We've been preparing our income tax return for the last several months here. And it's really frustrating. The rules keep changing year to year. You have to read. And I absolutely refuse to hire somebody to read for me. I'm not going to do it. And I refuse to hire somebody to understand for me. If I can't do it, I'm not going to do it. So we're going through the tax code and we're preparing our tax return here. And I said to Mrs. Finelli last night, I said, I'm actually looking forward to being audited. I really am. Because I will eviscerate that auditor. I will be on the attack. I'm not going to go in real pleasant. That's not going to happen. I'm going to go in as if this is war. And I'm looking forward to being audited by the state and by the feds if they choose to do it. It will become public. The information will become public. They will become notorious. But before we get started, before I utter one thing about the information that they want from me, I want a lot of information about them. Like, who are they? Where do they live? I need to set up my camera before we start and start videoing this whole thing, video and audio. And they may not allow it, but I'm going to try. And then I'm going to ask some questions like, what do you plan to do with this information? Who is your supervisor? What is your title? What is your supervisor? All that information.
By the way,
I want to know who they are.
Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson. I don't know if you've heard of him or if the class has heard about him.
Yes. Go ahead.
He recently, there was a BBC supposed to be current affairs show was going to do an expose piece on him. And it had the working title of Tommy Takedown. Now, Tommy Robinson is famous because he exposed a pedophile cartel that was operating down the road from his tanning salon. And this pedophile cartel was pimping out 12-year-old girls on the corner near his shop. And, that wasn't acceptable in his view. And so he decided that he was going to take some action. And that, of course, made him a lot of friends in the Metropolitan Police in London. Not. Because it turned out that the Metropolitan Police in the city of London were actually protecting these 12-year-old girls. Not from pedophilia, but they were protecting the pedophile cartel, I should say. They were protecting the pedophile cartel that was pimping out these 12-year-old girls. Okay? And the BBC was going to do a documentary, entitled Tommy Takedown, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. And the documentary got put up on YouTube and got put up on Facebook. And guess what? YouTube took it down. But I want to say to the class, if there's anyone who wants a copy of the Tommy Takedown documentary, you can email me at GUINEITH, and I have an offline copy of it. So if you want a copy of Tommy Takedown, you can email me, and I will email you a file with that documentary on it, because it is becoming rather hard to come by online. But like I say, I happen to have an offline copy that I downloaded off the internet while it was available, because I saw this and it was absolutely golden. Because the BBC was going to do this hit piece on him, and it was total lies, total BS. Okay, and absolutely everything that they said that he was doing or that he was going to do or that he was trying to do was the very same things that they actually were attempting to do against him. So they were lying, they were being racist, they were being homophobic, you know, and all the rest of it. And I mean, Tommy Robinson's none of those things. He's had, you know, he'll have whoever working for him who is able to do the job, no matter what their race or no matter what their sexual orientation or whatever. If he likes them, if he can do the job, then they get to work with him.
All right, we'll be right back. Plus, I got a correction for you. The state debt per capita in California is $3,891, $3,891. The per capita debt across all 50 states is $3,582, $3,582. Guineith,
Yep.
Very quickly, Facebook. Facebook is monitoring people's information even if they don't have an account with Facebook. That Mark Zuckerberg, that ugly guy, is in the data collection business. As much data as he can scoop up as possible is what he wants. So applications such as Yelp, Y-E-L-P, Indeed, and Duolingo, well, Spotify, Skyscanner, Kayak, and others, including Apple iOS apps, exhibit the behavior, according to Daily Mail, that your information is being sent without your knowledge to Facebook.
Yep.
To Facebook.
I fully believe that, you know. And the reason why I have a Facebook account is basically so that I am out there in the universe. If I ever disappeared from Facebook, people would begin to get really, really worried about me. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the reason why I maintain my Facebook account and why I post on it every few days. I post at least something on it each day or every few days so that people can tell that I am still living out and about there in the universe, because the things that I've been through have been, and also if anything happens to me that is, you know, really not fair or dangerous or whatever, you know, if I have anybody, usually from a government-type cartel, I don't think I've ever had anybody except for Mick Gatto, maybe. But I think that he might be, you know, I can't say anything for sure because I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that he might be working with the Victoria Police and various other state polices around about the place. So, you know, doing deals with them. So, although I would say yes, he is definitely an underworld figure. I would say that he doesn't qualify to be in the Mafia because he meets with, I believe that he meets with the police. Okay, that's just me saying that. But I think that I'm justified in saying that given the information that I have. So anyway, it's that's the reason why I'm on Facebook. And people can contact me on Facebook. They can message me on Facebook if they want. And I'll probably reply within a day or two. That you won't be talking to a bot. You'll actually be talking to me because I don't have bots. You know, when I post on Facebook, it's actually me in my little, you know, adobe mud brick farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere in country Victoria with my satellite internet connection and my, ancient laptop, typing away and actually typing a message back to you. That's how it is. My laptop's not a new laptop. It would be at least, oh gosh, how old? I got it the year that I came here, which was 6 years ago, and at that time it was about 8 years old. So 6 plus 8 is 14. Probably about 13 or 14 years old. Mm-hmm. My laptop, and it's a Dell.
Yeah.
I've got, I think that Dells are great.
Are you running Windows XP? Are you running Windows XP?
No, unfortunately. I was running Windows 7 on it, but we had a problem with the hard drive, and so we had to get a new hard drive, and unfortunately the hard drive had Windows 10 on it.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Guineith, we're out of time for today.
Another copy. Yep.
We're out of time for today.
God bless you all.
Yep. Thank you.
God
bless
you. Have a great week, won't you?
You too. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.